Hey guys, so today we'll be doing a variation of the Tokomo Fuse Rose unit. And this variation specifically is the Harunasan variation by Uniya Filonova. And one of my commenters actually alerted me that this variation already exists, and I kind of found it actually just by experimenting with the Rose unit itself and just by playing around. And so I'll be sharing how to make it with you guys today. So to get started, here is what the finished unit looks like, or finished Kusudama looks like with the units. As you can see, it kind of makes this cool like rhombus pattern that kind of surrounds each of the tips. I really like that a lot. And just to compare, here's the traditional, just the Tokomo Fuse Rose unit. You can see it's kind of like more of a swirl, whereas this kind of makes the swirl in a different way. The pattern looks kind of cool. I really like it, especially with two-sided paper. It looks great. One-sided paper doesn't really do it justice, but today I'll be teaching you guys how to make this unit today, and we'll be assembling as well, and so hope you guys enjoy. Okay, so let's get started here. So we'll start with our same 2x1 rectangle as we do with the traditional Tokomo Fuse Rose unit. I'll be linking the video up here in case you haven't seen the original tutorial on how to make that unit. But again, we'll start with the 2x1 rectangle, and just like the other, just like the original Tokomo Fuse Rose unit, we'll start by just kind of folding the paper like this along this the long way here, if you will. We'll open it up, and just like in the other one, we'll be folding the top right corner, and then the bottom left corner, it's the same thing. I like to sort of flip it around and just do it this way personally, but we'll have the opposite corners folded in like this. Then we'll match this corner to this corner right here, and so we'll kind of bring these two together, like so, and kind of just pinch right here. We don't need to completely crease, just pinch. And we'll open this all back up here. Now we'll take this long edge here and kind of line it up between this point here and this point here in the crease. You'll kind of see what I mean when I do this here. So we'll kind of fold it like this, and making sure this point lines up here, and that this lines up kind of with the crease that creases that corner. And you want a little bit of overhang here. This is totally okay. This is actually what you're supposed to have. And we'll do the exact same thing on the other side, and this one's a little bit easier because you can just kind of match it up with the center line there. We'll crease this here. Great. So now we have something that looks like this. We'll just now bring this corner and this corner together. And so we do something that looks something like this to make something that kind of looks like this. And we'll crease this whole bottom here, just like that. Now this is where the unit variation kicks in. So normally in a typical Tokomo Fuse Rose unit, we do something like this, where we fold this down, right? But in this situation, we're actually going to open this flap up and fold this edge to meet this crease right here. So we do something like this, okay? And then we fold this back down like this. So we look at something like that. And we do it again on this side, so we open the flap up, and we, boom, fold that, just like that. Okay? And you can kind of like curl this in, just make it like even. So we get something of this nature, and we kind of just fix that. Doesn't have to be perfect, but get it as good as you can. And then we just fold this back in half to meet basically on that crease that we made earlier. And from here, it's exactly the same as the original Tokomo Fuse Rose unit, in that we are going to fold this back, pinch the corner, fold this back, pinch the corner. We will then bring this together here. So, sorry, I did that pretty quick. We'll fold it up like this, and then along this, basically we make this flush, so we kind of fold it like that to kind of make a triangle. Start seeing the triangle here, and we do the same here. Start making the triangle like this. Open it back up so it's like this, and then we basically fold these flaps over. So we just fold it over like this. Do one like that, the other like this, and we open back up, and we're done. And so now you just gotta make 29 more of these. So again, we need 30 units to make the whole Kusudama. And next, once you can pause the video here, kind of fold them all up, and then we'll do the assembly. Okay, so now that you have your 30 units here, I've got my handy set of tweezers here just to help get some of those last units in, and we'll kind of get started on assembly. So assembly is exactly the same as the regular Tokomo Fuse Rose units, and I did 2 different colors just for fun, but you can do as many colors as you want. 1 color, 2 colors, 3 colors, 30 colors, whatever you want. So again, it's going to be, remember, flaps in pockets here. So flap in pocket. And I like to alternate the colors, doesn't really matter. Flap in pocket. One more here. Flap in pocket, and then one more after that. And of course, you want to have groups of 5. So when you're assembling a 30 unit piece, you want to make points of 5. That's not always the case for some of the larger pieces. Like a 90 unit piece would be different, but we'll go over that in a different video. But you can kind of see already how like the white kind of has a cool frame around the center, which is really great. And so just keep adding. I had some commenters in some of my previous videos mentioned they wanted to see the entire assembly and that I shouldn't just jump through it. So we'll kind of just go ahead and I'll talk you guys through the entire assembly here. So I kind of like to do assembly in a couple of different ways. There's a couple of different ways you can kind of approach it. I always definitely like to go for that first 5 point for sure. Then after that, you can either start going around the edge, like I'm doing right now, where you just kind of just add units around the edge to make like one giant ring around that original point, or you can just start making other points like right away. So if you wanted to maybe just complete the second point immediately instead of doing all that, that's totally fine too. And there's a number of different ways you can do it. I find that doing the point by point instead of going like in rings around it is a little bit sturdier. But if you're doing fun patterns, especially if you're doing one ring of one color, the next ring of a different color, and so on and so forth, then doing the rings kind of helps you stay a little more organized in that respect. And so that's one reason why you might do that instead. And I'll go over that in a video I'm actually trying to make very, very soon about how to kind of, you know, make Kusudamas, make Rose Uniya Kusudamas in different colors, and how you kind of plan patterns and plan things of that nature, I guess, during assembly and whatnot. And so we'll kind of just keep going. I'm not really paying too much attention to the colors, like which colors I use when, for just a 2 color Kusudama. Sometimes I will for like 3 or 4 or 5 even, but in this case it's just for tutorial's sake. I'll just kind of take whichever units are available to me here. But if you want to, you know, organize the pattern in a certain way, by all means feel free to do so. And you can kind of see, again, these cool rhombuses start to develop in here as we kind of keep going through. But I usually almost always like to alternate, unless I'm going for a certain pattern, where it's all the light green on one side, for example, and all the dark green on the other half of the Kusudama. I do that from time to time as well, and just it kind of depends on what I'm feeling, depends on what the goal of the end project is going to be, and that's, of course, very much up to you as well. But we'll keep completing here again, groups of 5 all the way through for, like I said before, but I'll mention again, for the 30 unit pieces, it's always going to be groups of 5 when you're assembling these here. And so just kind of keep going, adding pieces as we go. Remember, flaps and pockets. And I'm going pretty fast because I'm pretty accustomed to how these pieces are supposed to fit together, and especially on a larger model like this, it's pretty easy to do. Just because, you know, with smaller units, a little bit finer. It takes a little more effort to get the smaller flaps and the smaller pockets, but for a larger unit, or for a larger Kusudama, it's pretty straightforward. But yeah, feel free to go at your own pace here. Do not need to be going as fast as I am, that's for sure. And have fun with it too. I mean, I think half of the fun of doing modular origami is the assembly, you know? Folding all the units, you know, that could be a little bit monotonous at times, depending on, I guess, your disposition or appetite for doing the folding in the first place, but I think, or at least for me, the most fun part is the assembly. Because it's basically a puzzle you make yourself. And, you know, half the fun is making the puzzle, and I think even more of the fun is, you know, actually doing the puzzle itself once you've created the puzzle. And so we're down to our last few units here. We'll kind of just keep going. And of course, it gets a little bit more, I guess, jam-packed in here, a little more hectic, if you will, as we kind of get closer to the end, just because we got more things in the way. But we'll kind of just keep going. 3 units left. And I will note also with this variation, the pockets it can be a little bit smaller slightly than in the regular Tokomo Fuse Rose Uniya, so just something to be aware of, but definitely not an issue. Largely in my opinion in terms of assembly, so we'll keep kind of going here. Nice. Put this here. And sometimes you have to dig these out, and sometimes units kind of get stuck in there and you need to dig them out, but oftentimes with larger units like this, where it's like the size of my hand, it's totally fine. With smaller ones like this, sometimes you need to dig the units out with tweezers, and that's why I had my handy tweezers there, but it doesn't look like we need them in this case, which is great. But any set of tweezers will be fine, any set of like, you know, I personally, these tweezers I got on Amazon. I have the link to that in my description as well if you're looking into getting tweezers, but any tweezers will work. If you have like tweezers for like bathroom tweezers or whatever, or any like science tweezers or like watch tweezers, those all work just fine too, so no need to get something special if you have something already standing home. And we're going to put the last flap into the last pocket, and we'll just go ahead and do one more check just to make sure everything looks good here, make sure all the flaps made it into their pockets and whatnot. But yeah, as you can kind of see as I'm twisting through it, I mean, we get those great rhombuses on the side there, one on the sides of these points, and I think the design really looks really cool. It looks almost like a spider web. You have like the white webbing across, you know, the green core, which I think is great. And so yeah, that's how you fold the Tokomo Fuse rose unit variation there. And if you guys have any questions, please leave them down in the comments below. I'll be coming out with more videos very shortly on how I think about patterns and assembly and whatnot, and so stay tuned for those. But thank you guys again. You know, leave a like if you want, subscribe, and I'll see you guys again soon.